Good evening. This is the Elliott Wave update for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 for Tuesday, December the 12th, 2023. What an incredible day yet again. I'm going to start here with the S&P. I'm going to start on the hourly chart, and I'm basically just limiting it to the move that we're in, that we're continuing to progress in, and which is actually unfolding so cleanly that I just wanted to share the count and what expectations from here are very likely to be. First of all, this morning we got CPI numbers. They were not real positive. They showed that inflation increased last month, and not to a great degree, but a tenth of a percent increase in inflation. And yet the market reacted, went down. And what it all ended up being was just a wave four, which kind of is very strong point for Elliott and counting Elliott and doing it correctly, and understanding that even though that number was not really strong, in fact, it was showing an increase in inflation. So tomorrow, what will the Fed do or not do? And what information are they going to be giving us? And will we have reached the top of this entire sequence that we've been counting since October of 2022? Will we get to that top? Will the Fed put the, and I'm putting air quotes on, you just can't see me, the kibosh on this in strong rally? Will it finish, or will we just run right over it because that's been the plan all along? And we're just going to continue to pour in to year end because that's how we're going to close it out. It's going to get interesting from here because, again, what we have tomorrow, we have PPI first thing in the morning, and then we have the Fed decision and the press conference. And a lot of information will be coming out of that press conference. And it's going to get interesting. So what the market is doing now, it's part heavy duty squeeze. Because to be honest with you, it really kind of kicked in big time in the last hour. And then after the bell rang, this shove and push of funds, of money coming into the market, of the indexes getting pushed again, all the way to next resistance. So let's start. I continue to count the S&P as being within the minute fifth wave. And I'll just open this up real quick. It's going to get a little tight because of everything being labeled. That we have an ABC on intermediate degree up to the July 2023 highs, which was 47.26, and then that decline, which had a lot of discussion on it. And basically, I believe that until we actually break 47.26, we got a little bit more room. Now, granted, my fibs are telling me we will break that number, which then takes away the fact of whether this was intermediate wave one down, and this is an intermediate wave two being counted as ABC. So it's going to get tight. It's down to the wire on this one. Because even if this is an X wave and not intermediate wave one, and we ended up, up into these upper levels, which I'm going to discuss in a moment, I still think that what we're completing then is a primary B wave. If we hold below, and I have to revert this back out to an intermediate wave one, put primary wave B above this, then I'm telling you, intermediate wave two got as close as you can get, even though this bullishness, this driving force behind all of this can turn on a dime. I really kind of believe what, and part of what I see now is just, I think, short covering. I think just in squeezing as hard as they can. Particularly, I'm seeing in the stocks, like, say, for example, Broadcom up another $43 today. Now, we have an expiration on Friday, and it's a quadruple witching, they call it, which means we've got options expiring on the indexes, options expiring on the underlying, options expiring in bonds and the treasuries. So we got a lot coming up on Friday. So do we make it all the way through Friday? So we kind of blow off whatever's get presented to the markets tomorrow from the Fed? Do we just kind of blow it off as the market then goes towards Friday's expiration? Or is tomorrow's 0DTE expiration going to be it? On top of it, we have a volatility expiration tomorrow. VIX options expire on Wednesdays. That is, I believe it was after the close today. I don't know if they get a chance to trade up to that first opening tick or whatever on the market. I'm not sure. I don't follow it that closely, but I know that volatility options expire tomorrow. So volatility under 13, under 13. I was like, wow. And so if anybody's putting on that volatility trade now where they're selling volatility, selling the VIX, and using the money to buy volatility in these component companies, that's insane. In my book. All right, back to here. All right, so that's the larger picture. We are very, very close. If this ends up being an intermediate X, then I will change this intermediate A, B, and we're in intermediate C wave, and this thing is completing. Whether or not it goes to a new all-time high above 48.18 in the cash and in 48.08 here in the futures market. Now, minute wave 5. So as I discussed yesterday, if I'm going to bounce everything up a degree and it's going to be intermediate A, intermediate B, and we're in intermediate wave C, these turn into minor. These turn into minute. These turn into minuet. It's just a degree difference. The count itself remains the same. So right now, I'm going to call it, as I've got it labeled, a minute fifth wave up. And within that, as I discussed last night, we started to subdivide once, twice, 3 times. Well, that kind of came through, the little fork zipped up, zipped down. So what did we do? We got 1, 2, we're inside the minuet third wave, and then we had sub-minuet wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This push on the close continues to be extraordinary because it's going right to it. And there's if you follow zero DTE options at all, if you follow gamma flows at all, if you're an options trader, massive things wrapped around 4,700. And here we are, 4,701. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing to see this expire right here. Now, if indeed it finishes, because I'm just sticking the 5 and the 3 up there, if it goes through that resistance at 4702, 4703, our next level is 4721. And that is where this actually, I got one more level that I need to be putting in there. Oh, it is in there, but it's up too high. Wow, okay. It needs to come in down. Well, I'm not sure why that happened, but I'm going to leave it where it is because it's very fitting. But I'm wondering why. come on. Wondering why. Come on. Ah, for God's sake. Oh, my computer keeps telling me I need to get a new mouse. Sure. Oh, because I connected it here and then I got that. This is very confusing to me why it anchored where it did. So let me put in one correction as to where this thing ended. Endpoint 4672. Yeah, and it should be, because that's the actual number, it should be 4662.25. Wow. Okay. Didn't notice that before. My apologies. And let's get that fixed so that we can see what we got. So, and actually it is a little bit lower than that. That's 64. No, maybe it's because I don't like that it's down there. So I am going to put it back. If I go to this, which is maybe what I did, 3671. That's going to make much more sense to me. 670.25 where I'm going to put it, which is where I think I had it before. Okay. So leaving that in place for us brings us down just ever so slightly. And we're just above it, the 4,700, 4,702. Now, if this completed this move, then we're in tune for a wave 4. We may sit sideways all night long. We may bounce higher and get up here and then come down again. This is all still in the works, but we're due a fourth wave, a minuet fourth wave now. So if I were just to add the markers, the retracement levels, and I'm just going to use it with the high is right now, right? And we're kind of bouncing. I know they're bringing it in a little bit as we get closer to its close. So using that, just a regular old wave 4 brings us into, now this is interesting because since it's a minuet, we're going to look to the fourth wave of one lesser degree, and it comes right in at its low. Again, 382 is 4665. And we're looking at 4670 as that price territory of the previous fourth. So that lines up beautifully to come back down right into there before we launch yet again in a minuet wave 5 to complete minuet 5, minute 5. I'm going to just jump them and call it minor wave 5 and intermediate wave C. So it's it's going to be pretty wild. But we continue now. If it comes back down and we still rally up, which I would anticipate, then we have 47.19, which actually that goes along with this small fifth wave, which I was putting as complete where we are. And that being the case, they come off. And then what we have left over are where the next fourth wave comes down, we'll connect this to that and fill in these areas up here. But right now, we have the minute fifth coming in at 47.33, 34. And then we have this 3, which actually came in here, if it did, which it would not be active anymore. And neither would this. And we'd have to then put in additional fibs. But right now I'm saying, 47.30, I'm saying 47.30 to 47.40 here, and then 47.50 here. I do believe there should be some resistance at that 47.50 area. Now, moving it back out to this fifth, if we go zipping past this one, Our next level is 48.14, 48.15. This again would have to go along with this fifth wave, which we're marking as complete. So these disappear in favor of it coming in. But I can't declare that just yet. If we get this pullback, then yes, very possibly. So that's kind of the look here in the S&P. On the hourly chart, look at this, the strength of this rally. And the 50 finally caught it today. The 50 finally decided, yep, I'm on my way, I'm on my way. And the 200's like, okay. It's really not, I mean, that's as slopey as it gets, let's say. But it's going from being flat to now suddenly having a slow angle up. And here we are on our RSI kind of showing, well, we are pushing into a territory that is going to call for a pullback. So that's the S&P. Over in the NASDAQ now. NASDAQ is pretty insane. I just got to tell you, NASDAQ is pretty insane. Check this out. And look at this. At 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, into that last hour, last few hours, this market just kind of went. But it didn't go, like just kept going and going and going and going. It would just kind of go and sit, and pop and go and sit, and then pop a little bit more and sit. And that's how it traded. So if you were kind of waiting, but you looked away and you weren't in a position, then like, oh man, I missed it. That happened to me several times because it's like I go up and I'm starting to do other things, sitting here at my desk, and then suddenly I look and I see it. I'm like, whoa. So it was a very interesting day. It was a good trading day yet again. I will tell you, in the NASDAQ, which is my beast of choice, I should say. I do trade the NASDAQ index during the day. That's my choice. And I cover the S&P, but I trade the NASDAQ. It's a beast, and it can get really wild and woolly and crazy. Now, here, I had that one more. Here we have the first subdivide. Actually, this is just a minuet level. Then it starts to subdivide into the sub-minuet level and then the sub-sub-minuet level. And it was the sub-sub-minuet level that actually got us all the way up to here. So we've just finished on the sub-minuet wave 3. So we have a 4 and a 5 to complete the minuet wave 3, and then a 4 and a 5 before we complete minute wave 5. We got a lot more, which is, again, we're looking, 16,700. It does appear, it does, because they're just going to push on these stocks. The short's going to get squeezed. But I have to be honest with you. We don't know for certain what the Fed may or may not going to do, or what the Fed actually may or may not say. If they're going to come out and say, yep, we're aware, we still think we're going to meet our inflation goal, we're still good, everything's out of control, we're not so worried about that little increase there in the CPI. Maybe, I don't know. Or they will talk about how they are concerned and how they are looking very closely. And then by then, PPI will be out, and he gets to talk about that with it. And we'll see. We will see how the market wants to react to all of this data. Do they still want to ride the narrative? Fed's going to cut starting in March. We're going down, da, 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 da. But I believe what really needs to be put into place, and people need to understand, the Fed may cut in March and April and May and June and July. That may happen. But we need to understand the reason they're doing it is not because the world is wonderful, not because, hey, the markets are just happening right along, everything's great. We have no hints of inflation. We have no hints of deflation. We have no hints of a recession. And that's the ticket, folks. If they start cutting the rates, it's going to be because of a recession. It's going to be because interest rates have choked off enough that money has gotten tight enough where they've got to loosen it up a little bit, not just because the world is great and the market's just going to keep going up. So we're gonna supply the corporate world with just bazillions of dollars. I don't think so. Anyway, here in the NASDAQ, if we have completed the sub-minuet, wave 3, then we got a fourth wave coming. And let's just take a peek at what it would line up as. 382, bing, right inside where the previous fourth of one lesser degree. So again, both in the S&P and in the NASDAQ, the fourth wave of one lesser degree fits where we think we should get our 1 degree higher fourth wave. So it's like, wow, okay, so from here, we're looking at 16,407. That's 382. Bare bones minimum 236, 16,480, 481. Still healthy, still within that price territory, got to tell you. Same as in the S&P. If it comes up the higher level, it's still within the correct area, within the levels that we need to see. So both looking like we got more to go. Now to the upside, we have 16,624.25. I think that gets blown away. In fact, that would just be if this fifth wave is not done and we kind of inch our way up to here and then pull into 4. Otherwise, that's gone. So then we got to go back out to this level. And our next one, because 16 and 18 gone, blown out by the wind. So our next level here for if this is the third wave, then that's actually gone. And we got to move it back out. Then we're looking for, we could probably still keep that there, but then we'd be looking for this fourth wave to add 1 to 4 to give us what 5 should look like. So if these are all done, then I got it. This one comes off, this one comes off, this one up here comes off, and we're out here. Right? Here we are. For minuet wave 3, we got 16,820, 825, I'm going to call it right there. And for minute wave 5, we got 16,825. Interesting. If we only get the 3 here, we get a 4. Where's that 5 going to come in? Come in right back at the same area. Add above this, because we're into new all-time high territory. So we're into that irregular B wave type move. Again, looking out at that little bit larger picture, we are in the minor wave 5 to complete the C, which will complete that primary B wave. Which is why I think the S&P also, the intermediate wave 1 is not really going to function well against what the NASDAQ is going to be doing. The NASDAQ will be finishing intermediate wave C, primary wave B. So I think it'll be interesting that we spend the first quarter, we spend most of next year just doing a primary C wave down, which will complete A wave, and then we get this glorious rally. I don't know. Somehow it's all going to fit, but it's out there. But this has been one heck of a rally off of the October 2023 lows, as well as the October 2022 lows. So both of these October lows have produced incredibly strong moves. Now, let me bring this back down. Oops. So I think we got to leave all that room. If we get this, well, here's the correction. If we get our wave 4, those are the tickets. If we happen to move up higher without pulling back, Then we got 16,625. And then 16,765 if they want to keep pushing until we get back. And then that 3 goes up and the 4 or 5 goes up. Everything gets moved up to go with. And then we'll see where all these line up. Because again, these are if the current high is not necessarily taken out. And they're pressing on it right now. They've already gotten it up to 16,600. That they managed to get there, and they're holding it right there. They're not going to let this go. They're just going to hold it right there, which is okay. But look at where we sit on our hourlies. Moving averages, all looking pretty good. The 200s coming off and being super flat, ever so slightly starting to angle higher. And then look at the rally. It was like pretty incredible. But the 50 caught a bid today. And the 8 is lagging, actually, but you'd think it'd be up here. But nope, it's not quite there. And the 20's even lagging a little bit more. So big number tomorrow, PPI. And then we get the Fed decision. Then we get the Fed press conference. Those are going to be major for our market. And direction will be made evident based on what the market feels and believes is being said to them. All right, our next update will be on Wednesday, December the 13th.